KOCN. Unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO. Don't miss a moment, they'll give you your fix. They're on every day from 2 until 6. Spend your afternoons with John, Josh, and Nick. John, Josh, and Nick. They'll show you what sports talk really is.
The program is just about to start. John is not here. He's making his way to a new broadcast position. The Creighton season has come to a close.
We get to watch a movie tonight?
Unless we already have.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO.
Welcome in, everybody, on this Thursday. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com alongside Nick Grimm. I'm Josh Peterson. John will be here momentarily, making his way upstairs at Madison Square Garden. He's already made his way downtown.
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with me?
Why do you sound so cheery? You sound like you have a pep in your step because Josh Peterson is glad the Blue Pigeons won. That's what he calls them now.
You know, yeah, apparently that's what everyone's calling them in the chat. You know what was going on, Nick. I wanted us to have a bit shorter of a show tomorrow. I was saying go Jays. When I got to the office, Creighton was up by 4 points. And I thought, wow, the time is here. It's going to be a 2-hour show. We're going to be off at 4 tomorrow. And instead that didn't happen. And so now you have to watch your 2.5-hour monstrosity of a movie, a Frankenstein of a movie, some would say, Nick.
It's a monstrosity about a monstrosity.
It is a monstrosity about a monstrosity. That means that we will have a full 4 hours with Mike Stibbs tomorrow, which I think some of our audience really likes, and I think some of our audience dislikes. So that's what's going down tomorrow.
It's also time for our weekly F1 talk with me and El Kent.
Oh, yeah, that's a huge bummer. Well, welcome in, everybody. We appreciate you joining us again. John will be joining us momentarily as he is making his way to broadcast position for the show. Of course, it is 4:14, so this is going to be a bit shorter version of the Grum than normal, but we can get you to an abbreviated, a very small edition of the Grum Down today. Look at that, Nick. But 5 bullet points on the Grum Down today. A short show is here. Sad.
Again, you're smiling. Stop.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, now I'll put on frowny face.
Wow, okay.
Did Greg McDermott just coach his final game at Creighton? There. How's that for you,
It was
Nick?
more neutral than sad.
Okay, well, I'm not going to be sad if he's going to go play
you're
golf.
not going to be sad?
If he wants to go play golf for the rest of his life, that sounds awesome. What do you mean? Why would I be sad for a man who wants to go live out his passions and dreams?
It's the end of an era. Be sad for the fans. Be sad for Omaha.
I've seen some fans who are like, get him out of here. So I don't know how many of them are. I mean, there will definitely be a lot of people that are sad. Speaking of hoops, Robin Washut will join us. He's, of course, our Thursday guest. He will join us today at 5:15. So he'll join us in about an hour as we get ready for the Big Ten tournament. Matt McMaster soon will be flying to the Big Ten tournament. He will be there, boots on the ground, journalism covering the tournament. We very much appreciate that. Miami goes down. Will they still be in? The debating, the politicking has already started with Miami of Ohio. I imagine that we will discuss that with John today. And as I wrote, any football stuff going on? Any football stuff going on, Nick? NFL, free agency, spring ball, anything that you'd like to chime in about today, Nick?
You're missing a bullet point here, Josh.
What am I missing?
Team USA is still in the World Baseball Classic. Thank you, the Italians.
I did forget. I just saw many tweets last night about Italy and the love of Italians and Italian food.
Thank you, Vinny Pasquantino, who, by the way, I didn't realize he played for Team Italy until I thought about it. It's like, yeah, his last name's Pasquantino. Of course he's going to play for Italy.
Yeah. That's the Grum Down for the show today. 402-951-1620, Prairie Flower Casino Zone Hotline. You can give us a call. You can shoot us a text on that number right now. Each week, we will be giving out a $100 gift card to the Sky Bar and Grill at Prairie Flower Casino. Enter to win now at 1620thezone.com. Like this text from Pedro. Hi, guys. Can you tell me who won the Big East game today? Did Creighton win? No, Creighton lost 72-61. St. John's also won earlier, so it'll be Seton Hall and St. John's tomorrow at 4:30. God, that could have been us, Nick. That could have been us. Instead, it will not be us. It will be Seton Hall and St. John's. More games still to come in the Big East tournament. I believe in like an hour is when or maybe it's a couple hours at 6 is when the next game starts.
Congrats to the Seton Hall version of unsportsmanlike conduct.
Oh, they are pumped right now.
They're stoked.
Yes, now I still live in Jersey, but at least I have a half day tomorrow.
It's the one good thing about this.
Now I don't have to watch Frankenstein tonight. That's what the Seton Hall version of the Grum is talking about right now. You can also find us on the all-new Liquid Trucking Zone Twitter feed at USC 1620, at Josh Tweederson, at Grim and M, and soon at John Bishop 71. That is the way that you can get in touch with us. Wow, we have a lot of tweets. Sam writes, it would be sad for Jay's Twitter. There you go. Sam would be sad if McDermott was gone.
Yeah.
So I know that people will be sad. I'm just saying I've seen a few people who are like, I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, and
I've seen it.
Are you one of them?
No, I don't care. Again, Nick, it's Thursday. I don't know if we're doing it today, but I don't care. Again, I want him to be a happy person. If he wants to move on with his life, I'm happy for him. If he wants to coach again, I'm happy for him. Pesky Blue says, who are these people? I don't know, Pesky Blues. People that have been in my mentions before. I probably have them all muted. Cindelar writes, go Jays, baby. And Bad Takes Doug says, cue the crown jokes. It does not seem like there will be a crown for the Creighton Blue Jays, given the parameters. And John had a great rundown of that at the very end of the broadcast today. So I do not believe that we will see Creighton in the crown, but you never know in that regard. You can also, of course, email us into the Equitable Bank inbox. John at 1620thezone.com when he arrives again. Josh at 1620thezone.com or Nick at 1620thezone.com. So that's what we have coming up. Again, obviously a short show. We're on at 4:18 right now. The show did not start at 2 o'clock today. If you did miss it, Creighton falls 72-61. I mentioned a couple seconds ago, there was a moment early on in the second half where Creighton's lead, I don't want to say balloon, but Creighton was able to get to a 4-point lead, and they had been trailing, of course, at halftime by 7 points. And so they come out very strong at the start of the second half. They take that lead. And pretty much after that, I mean, it really just was all Seton Hall. They regained the lead, and it got as close as 2 points with 4:53 to go. Creighton goes on a nice little run. They make, one or two threes in that stretch, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, here you go. Dix misses a 3, and then after that, Seton Hall went up by 4, and they pretty much were able to coast from that moment on. John talked about it quite a bit during the broadcast. Jacob Darr and what he did today. I mean, getting rebounds, knocking in shots. That was the thing, man. The rebounding early on. It's so funny. The edge at the end is only 42-39, and Creighton actually had more offensive rebounds, 10 versus 9. But gosh, it seemed like the first 3 or 4 minutes of the entire basketball game that the Pirates were able to get every single rebound they needed amongst that stretch. So Creighton falls, and a tough end to the season for the Blue Jays. And now our pal John Bishop joins from Madison Square Garden. Hello, John.
All right, we made it up here. The escalators were running the right way, and so here we are. But
hello.
Yeah, I just heard the last bit there. It just way too many shooting droughts, you know, and which, we focus so much this year on rebounds and turnovers and second chance points and yada yada. But the other thing, if there's a 3-horned devil to this Creighton season, the other was in just interminably long scoring droughts. On the stat monitor here, I don't think they keep track of those droughts, but you can certainly look at the shooting. You start 0 for 5, and then they made 4 out of 5 and got off the schneid. Then immediately missed 7 in a row, and then ended up 2 for their last 10 in the first half. And they just had too many times where they were either relying on having to get to the free throw line or missing shots. And I knew that you were going to need to have people step up. It can't just be about one guy. And Josh Dix certainly, played as well as you can expect, given the circumstances. But nobody else. And I lost track, man. This building. I know Creighton's record in this building isn't like abysmal. I mean, we're not talking about 0-30, but I swear some of the worst shooting performances by Creighton basketball teams have happened in Madison Square Garden, not just against St. John's, but in other tournament games. And maybe it's just my memory.
A handful of years ago.
Georgetown, yeah. I mean, there's just so many. And today there had to be at least 6 or 7 of the threes that just missed everything.
Yes. Oh my gosh, John.
You never see that.
No.
I mean, usually you at least hit iron, and these are good 3-point shooters.
That was the thing early on in the game for both sides, where it was like, oh my gosh, some of the misses in this game.
Yeah.
They're barely.
We had that. Now, Seton Hall, they don't shoot the three very much at all.
Yeah.
So you can understand some of those, but yeah, there was a bricklaying competition going on there for a while, and this is a team, it's kind of a typical Creighton team where you live by the three, you die by the three. You go 3 for 16 in the second half. I mean, that's usually not going to be enough to get it done. The crazy thing is they go 3 of 16 in the second half. They score more points in the second half than they did in the first. But it just too many of those types of moments this year, and it cost them their season. Yeah,
it absolutely did. We had that question yesterday in Dumb Debates about if it hits a backboard, is it an air ball? That shouldn't be considered an air ball. And then I was thinking about that today because some of the shots, again, on both sides early on in this one. And I don't know if you heard the part, John, that I had right before you joined about the rebounding numbers. I never would have guessed that it would have been as close as it was, because it certainly seemed like anytime the Jays really needed one, they were unable to get it. And especially in the first few minutes, Creighton didn't have a rebound, I don't think, for like 3 or 4 minutes to start the basketball game. It was pretty wild that was as even as it was, and that Creighton won the offensive rebounding advantage over the course of the afternoon.
Yeah, I'm looking at second half. It was 22-19. And offensive rebounds, it was only 5-4. Again, Jays didn't really get hurt by second chance points, but there was I don't remember what the score was, but there was the turnover. It was an interception, I want to say, by Greer, and it led to either a 3-on-2 or a 4-on-2, and I don't remember who lost the ball, but fumbled it away. It went back the other way, and immediately, and Seton Hall got a bucket off of it. You had a numbers advantage, and it just felt like that was kind of one of those moments in the second half, even after the good start, where you could feel the edge turning, and that was the other part of it too. You had Nick Graves in foul trouble.
Yes,
a team. When you know who won the pony, hadn't had a guy foul out all year, and it ends up being Nick Graves, who was having a pretty good day, but not having him on the floor, kind of that floor general, that was the difference. The Jays point guard played well, but had to spend extended time on the bench. Adam Clark on the other side was able to play, he played every minute of the second half. And while the numbers aren't eye-popping, he's able to run the offense. He's able to, manage things, because Seton Hall is a team, they rely on their defense, they grind out possessions, they're not a team that attacks early, but they have a guy who's able to do that, and that's what Clark did today. And I want to say today was a microcosm of the season, but it really wasn't. Again, they didn't 10 turnovers. You would have told me 10 turnovers before the day.
Yeah, you're feeling great.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Especially if you would have told me, hey, the offensive rebounds aren't going to be an issue. I'd have said, you're fine.
Yeah, you put those two things together, you're feeling really good about the game.
But it was the scoring droughts.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Droughts.
Yeah, I think it was
scoring droughts were just, they were a constant that we probably didn't talk about enough. And I know John Walker did some numbers on it and some stats a few weeks ago. But, you go through, and it doesn't have to be just a 4 or 5 minute long drought, but it's 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes. It's just enough to just kill your momentum.
I think it was one of our listeners, Sam, who pointed out during the first half of the game, like, man, you never want to see one of those scoring droughts has been, and it's at least 3 minutes, whatever the seconds are. And it happened 2 times, and Fanta said, he's like, 4 minute drought. And then a few minutes later, 3 minute drought. And it's just like, wow, you go 7 combined minutes over, a stretch of, probably 12 total of game action where they didn't score with those 2 combined. And I mean, the honestly, the good thing was the lead didn't balloon as much as it could have, because Seton Hall's offense was struggling too. But That really was a problem for them in the first half. And then even as they come storming back in the second half, then quickly that lead, what was it, a 9-0 run after going up by 4? And so it was like all that work, and then boom, it's back to a 5-point lead for Seton Hall.
So Blue Jays season, we think, is done. We're not sure. I had my earbuds.
Okay,
in,
I was
so
going to ask you.
I did listen to Mac. He made it clear that if there is a postseason invite, that they would take it.
And you pointed it out in the postgame because Whopper had a tweet. Mac's postgame, he mentioned a willingness to play in the Crown. If Providence fires English, I think they can decline. And Mac didn't say the second part. That's Whopper opining, and you pointed that out at the end of your broadcast that if they don't want to play because they fire a coach, that is their prerogative, and that in theory would be how Creighton would be able to slide on it.
Right now, of course, the precedent was set last year. Villanova. They fired their coach and decided to play anyway. So I don't know. I don't know where Providence's mind is right now, if they would be willing to do it or not. Would the Big East lean on them to do it? Remember, this is a contracted tournament. The Big East is a partner along with Fox, along with Big 12, along with Big 10, which is why they are guaranteed each 2 teams in. And, there might be maybe behind the scenes a little bit of arm twisting to see if Providence wants to. But again, we don't know. At least we did get some clarity from Greg McDermott's point of view that if they did get a postseason invite, that they would take it.
Yeah.
So, they would get to play another game. But now, of course, with that question hanging in the air, the bigger question is, where is Mac right now? Where is his mind? And it's funny because I've had people that I would think are closer to the situation than I am who have asked me what I think is going to happen.
Yep.
Which tells me that, a couple of things. One, either Mac hasn't verbalized or given any indication as to anything, or the tight-knit circle that he has is a very tight-knit circle, and they're keeping things very close to the vest as far as what they're going to do. I'm spitballing things right now. I would get the feeling that if the decision was to come back, that, if Mac knew today that the decision is to come back, he would say it. He would have said it by now. Which, if that's true, one of 2 things is possible. 1, he hasn't made up his mind yet. Or 2,
he has, and he
has, and that is to step aside and turn things over to Alan Huss. That would be my guess. If he knew if he knew today, it would already be said. But there may be other things out there too. There might be recruits. There might be transfers that are and we don't know because the transfer portal is. Believe me, everyone's tampering. So I'm sure they've got feelers out just like every other team has feelers out. But there might be circumstances that, are dictated by, hey, I'll come if you're still here or not. Or there might be, a job offer to Alan Huss out there. He's been rumored for a couple of, different spots, light rumors. But, anytime you've got a guy who's available on the open market, theoretically, even though he is under contract, that doesn't make any difference. If he's still a coach in waiting and someone says, hey, I really liked what you did at High Point, and they make him an offer, that might press the issue. So I think there's still, even though we're sitting here, it's at the end of the season, and we think we are close to a decision, there might be so many other balls in the air right now that have not allowed a decision to be made or to be verbalized yet. And a lot of conditional factors on, who's wanting to do what when, and then there's obviously there's the emotional side of it. Do you want to go out like this? That's been a popular theory.
And people have been wondering that since
yes.
I mean, it's funny when he originally announced it, that this was going to happen about a year ago. It was a year ago next month. I don't think anybody would have foreseen this coming. I always thought that if it was going to come down to level of success, it was going to be like, did they go far enough in the tournament for his liking? Not did they finish only for the second time in his 16 years here with a sub 500 record. Like I never would have guessed that. And if you would have told me, hey, that's somehow going to happen, I would have said, all right, no way he doesn't come back for another year. And I think I told you at some point over the last few weeks, I have changed my tune. I don't think he is coming back. I think that he is going to retire. I think that your theory that you just presented a moment ago is a very good one. And I think that we are going to learn that at some point. I don't really know the timeline on this because it can be kind of whatever.
We don't know if there's more games.
And we don't know if there's more games. Yeah.
It's hard to say. But that's, there's still a ton of ambiguity. Not only is the season still going on, is the coach going to be back or not? And those are things I wouldn't think this will be something that lasts more than a week or two after whenever the season's over. Obviously, the first step is you got to find out after Sunday, is the season over?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not, then, it gets pushed back. I would think, just in the interest of, fairness for all parties and to have planning, for the future, that, it wouldn't be more than a week or two after the end of the season where whatever decision is made. But as of right now, I mean, I kind of lean towards that we saw there, or we are seeing the last game or games, depending if there is a postseason with Coach Mack. But again, he's kept it very close to the vest, and we don't know at this point. And who knows? Maybe he doesn't still know, believe it or not.
Yeah, I guess that is a possibility for sure.
Because this is a guy who's been in the competitive level of sports since he, was in high school, right? Or before that. But to a point where it is like it's your main focus. He's been at this for 40 years, at least, where athletics, basketball has been the main thing. And to just step away cold turkey is hard to do. And that helps complicate the decision. And then some people just know when they know, and they make the call when it's time. Who knows?
By the way, Hot Danger asked a couple moments ago, isn't the Crown the top two teams from the Big East, Big 10, and Big 12 that don't make the NCAA? Doesn't that put Creighton in? No, of this moment, it would not, because it's based off of net ranking.
From what I understand, it's based off of net rankings, and as of today, Seton Hall would be the first team, and Providence would be the second. Again, could Providence opt out because we assume will be changing coaches? They could. That would put Creighton in play. So, it's not a guarantee. It's not top two based on the league standings. It's based on the net ranking. And as of this morning, Providence was 3 spots ahead of Creighton. I would think, losing to a better team, St. John's, Creighton losing to a lesser team as Seton Hall, that wouldn't change. That Providence would still be ahead of Creighton when the new net rankings come out, but who knows?
Yeah.
So right now,
we're all just kind of guessing. As you said,
we're all just guessing. Yes. Everything's a guessing game.
Yeah, as you said at the end of the call today, like, hey, this is a little weird. The Crown now operates, and just kind of how we're all blind in a lot of ways. All blind.
All right. Still to come, we've got Robin Washut will join us next hour. He is, I'm assuming he's already
boots on the ground.
He's in Chicago for the start of the Big Ten tournament for Nebraska, which will be tomorrow. And more as we continue here. I'm in Madison Square Garden. Josh and Nick back in our studios, and we'll be back with more of Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. Welcome back. John Bishop and Josh Peterson, Nick Grimm on Sportsmanlike Conduct. A short edition today after Creighton loses in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament, 72-61. Was just talking off the air. Kevin McNamara, who does radio for Providence and longtime sports writer for the Providence Journal, one of the most plugged-in guys in the Big East Conference in terms of writers. We were talking off the air. He believes it is that Providence would not play in the Crown if they were invited, that Kim English is to find out very soon about his fate, and that they would not play any postseason basketball. So take that for what it's worth, and we'll see where it goes from there. But just little inside information from one of the more plugged-in guys in the Big East Conference.
Do you think this team wants to play more basketball? Like, it's been a long, challenging season on and off the court, right? Obviously, like we saw around here six football seasons ago, a team get to the end of their road and say, we don't want to play in a bowl game, and that being Nebraska. And obviously it was a long, arduous year for different reasons, but they made that decision. Do you sense that this group would be up for especially for a program that has made every NCAA tournament, basically, that they have been able to over the last decade, again, because of that one in 2020 getting canceled.
Right. One of the differences is there's so many new faces on this team, some of which weren't a part of those NCAA tournament runs. I mean, basically, Jason Green is the one, guy who's played extended minutes who, would have that kind of institutionalized, hey, NCAA or bust idea. I'm not saying he would say that. I really don't know. The way Mac answered the question today at the press conference makes me think that, that they are or would be willing, or the players would be. I wouldn't think if he felt that, this team didn't want to play, that he would say anything like that. But part of it too might be, he's setting the bar and saying, no, this is what we're going to do.
That's a great point.
And those of you who are with us are with us. Those of you who aren't. And we saw it last year. There were a number of guys. We saw it with Nebraska last year. Who opted out last year and didn't play in the Crown? Trying to remember.
Yeah, I honestly don't even remember.
But we saw that a lot where new faces got a lot more extended minutes. Jacobson played a lot more minutes.
Yes, he did.
In the Crown than he did in the regular season. So. For some of the other guys who, either are planning on being back next year for CU or wanting to, put more on tape for their next team would probably want to play. But, they'll field a team. If they go, they'll field a team. How many guys will be there? I'm sure a Josh Dix will play. I mean, that's just the kind of guy he is. I'm sure a Nick Graves would play. So we'll see. It's all the new world now. It's so much different than it used to be, where we didn't have opt-outs in bowl games. We didn't have opt-outs in tournaments. We didn't have the open transfer portal. Now it's a new world. So if anything, there's a possibility that you'll see a lot of different faces play that we didn't see, or see guys who maybe didn't see a lot of minutes play, should there be extra basketball in Las Vegas.
By the way, KD writes in, not every program is as spineless as Nebraska football. And hey, that's true. Maybe not every program is as spineless. You and I were two of like the few people in 2020 that were like, hey, it's not a big deal that they're not going to a bowl game. And yet people held on to that thing against Ross for years. And that was like one of the few things that I never cared about.
Yeah, they
didn't do.
Yeah.
It triggered a lot of people.
Yeah, they certainly did.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so weird, thinking about all these questions and, where things go. And
it's weird because of the biggest question that's hanging over this.
Yeah,
right? Like it's one thing to have a down season. Everybody has a down season, but this down season coming potentially at the end of the road, like that's the part that I really can't get over, is that they have been a model of consistency, really since the 14-15 season, and especially since the 16-17 year, where they had a floor, and the floor was NCAA tournament, and eventually the ceiling became, 5 seconds away from making it, in theory, to a Final Four. This was totally unexpected. Though, you know, as we talked about a little bit yesterday in terms of like blue bloods and this era of college basketball, like there is going to always be a little more volatility with things. Yep. And it certainly hit the Creighton Blue Jays this year.
Well, you know, Creighton pre-transfer portal era always had success with their transfers. Mo Watson, Cole Huff, Marcus Foster, Denzel Mahoney, just to name a few. And they always had success. But those guys all, because it was the old rules, you sat out a year, except for Denzel. Denzel played right away. But everybody else sat out a year and worked with the team and, you know, got to learn the system and all those other things. That's why those guys were able to click. Baylor Shireman, another one. He played right away. And you can see the talent, you know, on the floor. It's in the NBA right now. But of all the years to go as transfer heavy as they did, to miss on quite a few guys for a variety of different reasons. You know, Mac mentioned the injuries to Owen Freeman, and who knows how his season, you know, is different if he doesn't tweak his knee in the summer and gets put behind. But part of it too was adjusting to this league, and sometimes, you know, we sometimes we overstate the differences between leagues, and sometimes we don't state it enough. The Big East is a different animal than the Big Ten. I'm not saying it's better or it's worse. I'm just saying it's a different animal, how the games are played, how the games are called. I don't know if Owen – I think Owen was in a tough spot to begin with because he was supposed to be the guy to replace Kalkbrenner. And if there's one thing I regret, and I know hindsight's 20/20, there's one thing I regret before the season was underestimating what it's like to replace a legend.
Sure.
Ryan Kalkbrenner was a legend.
Yeah, we can't talk about Kalkbrenner in the moment like we did and then make it sound so easy, and yet we did, you know.
And so to expect a guy,
he
no
can
matter
be blank percent of him,
to just walk in and do the things that he did was going to be a tough ask anyway. But it became even tougher when he wasn't able to play as much at the beginning of the season. And then when he did, it didn't look right. It didn't fit right. And that's why Jason Green ended up moving to the 5. And Creighton was, you know, up against it the whole season because they were having to play undersized in the middle. And, you know, God bless him, but, you know, he did everything he could. But, you know, Jason Green can only do so much. So that put him behind the 8 ball. You know, Nick Graves, you know, if you look back, other transfer guards, we forget Stephen Ashworth, first half of his first year. He wasn't living up to the
yes, God, great
Ryan
point,
Nembhard,
man. Yeah,
you know, standard or the Mo Watson standard or the, you know, the Marcus Zagorowski standard. And then, you know, it kind of kicked in the second half of the year. And then, you know, in his second year, everything was fine. But it took that time. It took that time to develop.
And he had other pieces around him.
And that's the thing. He had other pieces around him, especially the gravitational center of Creighton's universe, Ryan Kalkbrenner. And so, you know, this.
And you didn't even mention Jackson McAndrew, right?
McAndrew's injury. I mean, he was supposed to be a leader.
Yep.
He was supposed to be a leader on this year's team because he was going to be one of the returning starters that was going to be back. And obviously that went sideways. But there's no question that, you know, missteps were made. They probably had too many wings, needed another good ball handler. And certainly, you know, the issues at center were what they were. And this was the type of year it was going to have to be. And then they have to adjust on the fly, you know, playing it. You're going to have to play a different defensive philosophy because you don't have Kalkbrenner just playing the goaltender at the rim. And then you look at the schedule. The schedule was a beast at the beginning of the year. And then you get off to a slow start and all those things start to stockpile on each other. And you get off to a slow start. I wonder if the season would have looked a little differently if they would have won that game at Seton Hall, you know, back in January, and then followed it up with Villanova and would have started 5-0. Would that have been the thing that got them going? Listen, the weaknesses were still the weaknesses.
Yeah.
But a lot of times in sports, it's about momentum. And Creighton never really got any momentum this season. They won those 3 games in a row at the end of 4 games in a row at the end of December, but then the calendar
they never won back-to-back games
and never won back-to-back since.
That's crazy.
Never won back.
Yeah, I mean and you're never going to find any momentum if you're unable to ever do that.
That is true. All right, we'll be back. Happy hour is coming up next. Robin Washut will join us in the next hour, and we'll have more of Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on 1620 The Zone.
be nice to have a blow
Throw.
The happy hour's on the air.
I couldn't hear you, John. I couldn't hear the show.
Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, you didn't hear the blow through.
Oh yeah, I can't play that. I forgot. Sorry, John.
Oh, tell YouTube to go get bent.
Well, then they tell us to get bent, and then we get
Good.
banned.
We're making so much money off of it.
Hey, it's more money than we were
I
making
feel so
without
rich.
them.
I feel rich. Oh, welcome back. Happy hour, sad hour, crappy hour.
Crappy boo hour.
Crappy
For
boo
me.
year?
For me,
Mm.
the rest of you,
Hey, and me.
be what you're going to
Hey, John and me, we are handshake memeing today. You know I've been saying it for weeks.
And look how sad he looks.
Go
be.
Jays.
Josh just wanted the extra up a couple of hours off.
No, I wanted you to be happy too for at least one more day. But yes, getting off at 4 on a Friday would have been nice. It would have
Yeah.
been nice.
I don't want to know about what time you do that.
It would have been nice. Nice.
While we're on the show.
Jimmy Wright sucks when your teams lose. You know, it
Yeah, it
does
does.
suck when your team
It
loses.
does.
Good take.
Yeah, we all
It
agree on that.
does.
Reach across the aisle. We all understand that.
You know, some
Yes,
people
we
are
do.
too afraid to say the hard truths like that, but I'm
Mm.
glad that you are.
Very interesting.
We do appreciate that.
Very
Well, welcome.
interesting.
Welcome back. The shortened show today, but Robin Washut will join us in a few minutes.
Hell yeah.
From Chicago. If you're not getting enough information from our Big Ten tournament reports, you know, we got Robin there to tell us all about it.
that? That was great.
What was
boots, boots on the ground reporting in our most recent break from McMaster, who is at the airport right now, but he's doing great work
Boots on the ground at the airport.
He'll be
He
at
can
the
tell us-
United Center
he can-
tomorrow.
He can tell us how everything looks so cool and retro chic with all the exposed steel at the Omaha airport.
Mm,
Because it's
mm.
If you happen to be flying to Omaha, please do not judge us by how our airport looks. We're still very much under construction
Yes.
and will be for a very long time. Though you can now drive under the canopy.
Oh,
So when you get dropped off, you can drive under the canopy. That has
I don't know.
that, but everything on the inside, forget about it.
I'm going to miss getting dropped off in the creepy, kind of dim parking garage and having to walk across
Yeah.
the construction zone.
oh, well,
Now, I won't guarantee that, you know, that they won't have to close it again. But at least when we went to the airport 2 nights ago, we went under the canopy.
That's exciting.
Under the
And you looked up and it's like,
canopy
oh, look, it's
tonight.
glass.
That is exciting, John.
It's glass.
That is exciting.
All right. We talked about, you know, the Jays and what has happened with them, but
They lost.
on to,
They did.
we didn't get to this yesterday, but earlier this week, the media was allowed 20 minutes to watch spring football and watch stretching and
Yes.
moving around.
Yes.
Not hard practice,
No.
but
They saw some of the first teams and the second teams,
Right.
et cetera, et cetera.
I thought we could go through some of the observations that were
Okay.
made by the scribes
Yeah.
and buy or sell
Perfect.
whether we believe there's something here or sell it if we think it's just typical spring
Lame
hype.
stream media hype.
Right. This
Perfect.
isn't necessarily to question our colleagues in the media who got to see the practice as to what they saw, but whether or not we think it's actually going to be applied in the season, that it will actually come to fruition in the season.
Okay.
Buy or sell the observations from Nebraska's spring practice. So I'm just going down some of the things. I don't know what you have up. I'm looking at what Husker Online had to say, talking about Anthony Calandria. One of the things.
Oh, wait, sorry.
One of the things.
Wow.
Here's what they wrote in Husker Online. What jumped out was how accurate he was on all of his passes. Calandria threw strikes, put the ball on his receiver's numbers far more often than not. Same couldn't be said for Nebraska's quarterbacks. Along with physical tools, Calandria has an undeniable presence about him on the field. Whether he was dancing between drills with his receivers
Crazy
or getting
legs.
the offense lined up to start the drill, the St. Petersburg native carried him like a QB1. Anything in there that I just read, buy or sell?
Yes,
I was
Nick.
just say, to me, it sounds like he's doing the bare minimum of what it takes to be a quarterback.
Wow. So are you buying or selling?
He's
then?
doing his job.
Well, okay. Nick is really struggling with the game so far, John.
I'm selling.
You're selling. Can I give you a hold on the completion percentage? Because his completion percentage has been mid to low 60s so far in his career.
Which is slightly above average.
I don't know. I mean, not anymore. I think it might be slightly below average now.
Really?
For like the really, really good quarterbacks. Like, dude, those guys are completing passes at such a high rate these days. So
all right,
I'm going to go hold. I'm not going to go sell. I'm just going to go hold on that one in particular.
I'm going to look up here completion or the stats this past season. Passing. Just look at the top quarterbacks in college football.
I just got a text from someone that says better than Anthony Richardson. You know what? He better be. I will buy that he will be better than Anthony Richardson.
Calandria, not Jeff Sims.
What is Calandria's career completion percentage?
63.8.
And what did he do last year?
65.9. Easily the best year of his career.
I mean, those numbers would put him outside the top 40.
Yeah, so I'd say
that's Buckmeyer category. That's Ty Simpson's territory.
Yeah,
that's Nico territory. But in terms of the best completion percentage of the qualified quarterbacks, that's where he would be. So I would say that is slightly above average.
Slightly above average. Okay.
Slightly above average. I mean, theoretically, you have 138 starting quarterbacks in college football. So I would say that's slightly above average.
I got one for you.
I will buy.
Okay.
I will buy the notion.
Yeah.
That he is the most accurate of the quarterbacks. I will buy. That he is the most accurate of the quarterbacks as far as how he carries himself, and how much that's going to matter. You know what? I'll buy the fact that the kid will play with some swagger. You have to when you play like that. So I'm going to be nice. I'm going to buy.
Look
at
you,
I'm going to buy on those elements that we just read.
All right, I got one. This was from the Omaha World Herald. It's either Sam McEwen or Evan Bland. Don't know exactly who it is, but it was one of these two. And I am looking at the defensive lineman. Seen, because they do a thing, seen and heard. Seen, and use new defensive.
The sky.
That's true. And use new defensive linemen. Anthony Jones is one of the best-looking pass rushers. Jashir Whittington is trim and quick, while Owen Stoudemire, there's no Stoudemire, it's just Stoudemire, is more of a fire hydrant frame. John, are you buying or selling the way these guys look? By the way, I will remind you that career-wise, they have 7 sacks, these 3 transfer portal players.
I mean, I will take their physical descriptions at the word of the reporter. Now, as far as
hydrant,
will those guys make an impact? I will.
Oh, and Stoudemire, not Amari, by the way. I misspoke. I was thinking about the NBA player.
I'm going to sell on a lot of. In fact, I'm going to sell on a lot of things when it comes to Nebraska's defensive line right now.
Yeah, I'm going to sell on that one as well. Part of it too, and I don't want to crap on Mr. Jones. Have you seen my wife, Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones.
Do you know what it's like on the outside?
Dr. Jones.
But he's played at 4 Big Ten schools so far. Nebraska will be number 5.
Bless you.
And I just need to see more. I'm happy they look good, though. But, yeah, I'm going to sell.
Okay, here we'll stay with the same category.
Okay.
We're going to talk about one of the returning Huskers, Williams Winery
from
Husker Online. Wow. Here's an obligatory observation regarding Winery. 6'7", 265-pounder remains a first-off-the-bus guy. In other words, he impresses you coming off the bus. He's further tuned up an already impressive frame. He just looks like a guy who should get a minimum of 7 sacks.
Whoa.
Now again, this is a supposition. He should get a minimum of 7 sacks when it comes to how he looks off the bus. When it comes to Williams Winery, I'm selling.
I'm going to sell. That is a high number. When's the last time an individual for Nebraska had 7 sacks in a season? Now watch, someone will be like, it actually happened 2 years ago. It's not even that crazy, but 7 sacks. would be quite the jump. And I know that the defense is going to change in the style in which they are attacking.
Oh my God.
So I will sell. I will sell on.
By the way, it
that
was
one.
2 years. Ty Robinson.
See, I
had
was going to
7
say, I bet it
sacks.
just happened, and of course it did.
Oh, I forgot last year that the team leader in sacks was Javen Wright with 3.
I was going to say, I know last year's number was pretty.
3. By the way, the 7 sacks is the most since Khalil Davis had 8 in 2019.
Okay, so
So
it's only
two
one
players in
yeah.
the last decade have had 7 or more sacks. Yeah, give me a sell. Sell.
Yeah, I think it's a solid sell on that. Do you have any wide receiver ones in particular? Like I have one from the World Herald.
Please go ahead.
Go
ahead.
It's just not as specific as I would have liked. Where was it at? It says Nebraska's receivers navigating a drill, tasking them with running hard 3-yard digs while staying between cones. Like this is just more the things in which they were doing. I'm trying to figure out if we are buying or selling the wide receivers because it does seem like there's a lot of chatter about this group right now, John. People are excited.
Well, this is what Husker Online wrote. Gilmer looked explosive with sharp cuts and speed. As expected, he has seemingly placed himself in Nebraska's top group. I mean, I will certainly buy that Quasi Gilmer will be in the top group of receivers.
Absolutely.
When the season starts. I'm not saying I'm buying him as having, a breakout year that, some people have hinted is possible.
Well, why don't we do that? Let's put it this way, because the World Herald said that he is trim and cut in a way that sets him apart from some of the other wideouts. Should we do buy or sell on him being number 1 or a top 2 receiver on the team? Could we do that one? Or is that too obvious? Okay,
No,
I'm going to buy. I'm going to buy on Gilmer.
Josh buying into the hype.
Not buying into the hype. Just saying, I think it's going to be him and Hunter. I think that those two are going to be, because I do really like Isaiah Hunter, and I loved the way in which he ran after the catch. Like that's the thing that I really liked about him last year is he seemed to have some physicality to his game. So I will buy Quasi Gilmer being a top 2 receiver on the team in 2026.
Let's go to the hog mollies up front. The offensive line.
Hell yeah.
According to Husker
Hog molly?
Online. Hog molly. That's
You've never heard that term before, Nick?
No, I haven't.
That's like a Keith Jacksonism.
Look at the hog mollies running down the field.
One player to keep an eye on going forward is Paul Mubenga.
Oh, I've seen this and heard about this.
Paul Mubenga! The
Nice.
6'5", 315-pound junior from LSU is already standing out. Talking with some regular practice observers, some think Mubenga might end up being, quote, the best of the bunch on Nebraska's offensive line this season. Are we buying or selling Paul Mubenga?
Sell!
As being the best of the bunch on the offensive line.
Sell. I really like Justin Evans. He would be my number 1. And then if Pritchett can get more consistent, he would be my number 2. So I am going to sell on this one.
I think I will too, because I know he's from, he went to LSU, he played there, but there is something to be said for returning experience. And I think Evans had a solid season last year. While I sell on this notion, I will buy, even though this is not necessarily an observation made, I will buy Elijah Pritchett.
Ooh, me too.
Stock this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I will buy Elijah Pritchett stock this year. I am proud of how remember at the beginning of the season, it seemed like he was a lost cause.
He had a lot of those false start penalties.
Yeah. He had issues, and this happens. This happens to guys who come from programs like Alabama. A lot is expected of them, and despite some of the buzz and the negativity, he kept his nose to the grindstone. He got his time. He went out there, and by the end of the season, was playing pretty well. And I think he's going to be able to build off of that. So while I'm going to sell on Mubenga being, quote, the best of the bunch, I will buy stock this year in Elijah Pritchett.
Perfect. I know we got to get to Robin in a moment, so I'll give you one more. Reading from Husker Online. Okay, wow. This is definitely Sipple writing this one. We understand what the buzz is about when it comes to the linebacker room. Foster and Chambliss, transfers from Oregon State and San Diego State, have quickly changed the look of the group. Their size is impressive and imposing compared to many of the other backers. Both look lean as opposed to bulky. Vincent Shaver suddenly has a lot more competition to be the starter. So my question to John, buying or selling, noticeable improvement in the linebackers. Got a guy following his defensive coordinator, so he knows the scheme, knows what is going to be asked of him.
I wanna buy with Chambliss because of this, but hear me out.
Yeah.
A linebacker sometimes can only be as good as the guys that are in front of him. And if the defensive line struggles, I'm not saying that Chambliss still can't be an impact player, but having those linemen keep some of those offensive linemen off of guys so that you can get to the running back or get to the quarterback or make the right plays. I'm going to hold on this. Because while I do believe in the individual talent, I don't know if collectively the front seven are going to be held back a little bit by the guys up front.
I think that is very fair. I will also go with I'll go with a hold. I want to buy, but I'm going to hold this one for the time being. Very much so. Yeah.
All right. Robin Washut joins us next as the Big Ten tournament will begin for Nebraska tomorrow. We'll talk to Robin next on 1620 The Zone. Yeah. Okay. It must be time for Robin Washut of Husker Online. He was kind enough to move his time back this week because we were in the middle of covering the Jays here at the Big East tournament. Robin in Chicago for the Big Ten tournament. Robin, what have you had so far? Have you been there long enough to enjoy the greatness of Chicago?
Not quite. I mean, technically, yes. I got in this morning, but I'm staying in Rosemont, right next to the Big Ten offices.
Oh,
so
yeah, Rosemont.
Quasi in Chicago, but more just like a convenient intermediate point between O'Hare and the city. So, no, I haven't really done much. A lot of today was just kind of regrouping and watching some games and waiting till about 10 minutes from now and get to see who Nebraska's going to play tomorrow.
That's right. Purdue's going to take on Northwestern, who upset Indiana last night. Can you, I'm not familiar with where I know all the other places, but I've not been down to United Center. Can you from there, or are you taking different transportation?
I don't know. Maybe you can. I'm not very train savvy, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the ride share. It is not cheap. I was expecting it to be a little less expensive than it was, but it's a hefty ride down there. But the good news is that once you're there, you don't have to worry about parking or anything. So I am going to use the old Lyft app to take my way down there tomorrow.
Yeah. By the way, remember when Lyft and Uber were supposed to be a cheaper alternative? It was not in New York City either. So we got issues going on here. I might have to start cabbing it.
It has its time and place, but this is not one of them.
No, it doesn't. So now I'm not expecting it. You're probably not expecting it. Northwestern to continue this this ride, but now that Indiana's out of the picture, pretty much guarantees that Purdue's going to be playing on Friday against Nebraska.
I don't know about guarantee. Northwestern almost just beat them not too long ago in Evanston. Had it not been for a couple turnovers late, they may have actually pulled it off. So, I mean, it's a lot to ask, certainly, for an undermatched Northwestern team that has kind of found some of that, like Tim Miles, Nebraska magic, where, they're just riding this wave of, late desperation postseason momentum. But, they got one of the best players in the conference, and Nick Martinelli, who can score from anywhere. And if anyone else on that Northwestern team decides to show up, then maybe it can be interesting. But the other part of it too is Purdue has been one of the most erratic teams in college basketball this year, where they can on one night look like a national title contender and on the other night get completely run off their home floor. So like a lot of it just depends on which Purdue team shows up. Like, I think that Northwestern's going to be scrappy. They're going to try to ride Martinelli to the finish line and hope somebody else can, help carry the load. But this game will ultimately be defined by, if Purdue shows up to play. If they do, then yeah, they should take care of business, and Nebraska should expect to play the Boilermakers tomorrow night. But it's been hardly a given with Purdue all season long when it comes to knowing what to expect on a given night.
Robin, it seems like around the country and other conference tournaments, things have gone Nebraska's way in terms of this seeding, within the top 4 seeds overall, or the top 16 seeds overall. So like with that as the backdrop, how important is or isn't tomorrow night in your opinion? I mean, you hear from a variety of people. Some are like, no, you still want to win this one in terms of tomorrow night's game. Others are like, it's going to pretty much be set by the time Nebraska tips this thing off.
Yeah, I'm in probably the latter group where like I think it's kind of already done with, like barring any sort of like dramatic result one way or the other. And so like as long as Nebraska doesn't go out and lose by 30 tomorrow night, or if they don't go and like win the whole conference tournament, then I think they're pretty much locked in at the 3 seed. And I have a high probability that they're going to end up in Oklahoma City, just considering what the teams that were competing for that regional have done since over the last couple weeks, and what Nebraska was able to do, especially in that Iowa game. So I think that right now the stars are all kind of aligning to where it seems, I don't want to say a sure thing, but certainly close to it, that Nebraska is the 3 seed in Oklahoma City, regardless of what happens in Chicago. But again, like, if you go on a run and you beat Purdue, Michigan State, and Michigan in 3 days, I would say you have a pretty good case to maybe move up a line to a 2 seed with that type of run. But, again, barring something like that or getting completely embarrassed tomorrow night, that might make the committee reevaluate how they view Nebraska. I think that they're pretty much one of those teams that has been solidified already as a 3 seed for Oklahoma City.
And that was going to be my next question, Robin, was are you confident that it will be good enough to get the kind of location placement that Nebraska wants? Not just the seed line, but, getting to an Oklahoma City. Is that pretty much locked in your mind, or is it really, really close?
I'd say it's I wrote this tonight in my tunnel talk. I'd probably put it like a 95% chance that Nebraska is in Oklahoma City. Now I leave that 5% open for selection committee tomfoolery. As I put it, you never know what they're going to do. Like they always do something crazy and something wacky. But I think it just, given what happened with Texas Tech, what Iowa State's been able to do, and again, unless Purdue completely blows out Nebraska and suddenly shakes things up at the last minute, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point. But as we've learned over the years, you can never take any certainties into Selection Sunday because there's always going to be some surprises.
Robin, assuming it is Purdue tomorrow night, what can Nebraska take from the first matchup as it applies to this one? I mean, of course, one lesson would be don't start out the game down 14-1. Get off to a little bit stronger of a start, make your free throws late. But what other things can they take and apply it to the game again if they do see them for a second time?
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can look at how terribly that game started. I mean, that was probably the worst start they've had all season long, and yet they still had a chance to win it at the end of regulation. They were a made free throw away from taking the lead going into the final possession. So, that should give you, pretty good confidence knowing that you couldn't have played any worse for half of that, 20 minutes of that game, and yet you still had every opportunity to win it in the end. So that to me proves that Nebraska is every bit as good as Purdue when they're playing their level of basketball. So I would take a lot of confidence in the way that game ended, even though you lost, the fact that they were able to rally back and overcome such a massive hole right out of the gate, I think shows that, Purdue could be really good, but again, they're as erratic as it gets, and they might start hot, but odds of them maintaining that level of play are, hit and miss for them. So I would put a lot of stock into that, kind of as a message that you got to play a full 40 minutes because if you're consistent for start to finish, odds are you're going to have a pretty good chance. And then the other part of it too is the only way you have a chance is if you rebound better. I mean, Purdue absolutely dominated the offensive glass in that game where they had so many second chance opportunities, so many offensive rebounds, and that allowed them to, I think, keep Nebraska at bay as they made that second half charge. Oscar Clough was a real problem for Nebraska just with his size. They couldn't move him. A lot of Nebraska's defensive rebounding approach is you have Rink and Berke do their best to clear out the other team's bigs, and then Nebraska's guards come crash to finish off the possession. Well, Rink and Berke couldn't move Clough, and he got so many offensive rebounds, was able to maintain position that it gave Nebraska a lot of problems. So while you can take confidence in the way that you were able to rally back from that game, you also have to know that if you don't come ready to fight, especially on the boards on both ends of the floor, you're going to put yourself at a real disadvantage. So those would probably be my two biggest takeaways from that.
Robin Washut of Husker Online joining us on the Prairie Flower Casino Zone hotline. One of the things that, sticks out from that game was how many threes Purdue took. They took 46 threes in that game, made 13. That's the most threes they've taken by 11 all year long. And if you go back to the beginning of this calendar year, only two other times, I should say, have they taken as many as 33s in a game. But they took 46 in the first game. And I know they dominated the offensive glass, but they really tried to shoot over the top of Nebraska's defense. And while it worked for a spell, I think it was also part of the reason Nebraska came back because they missed a lot of threes in the second half.
Yeah, and that's kind of the gamble that Nebraska's system takes more often than not. You
Yeah.
know, they're going to take away the paint, and they're going to take away the baseline drives and all that. And as a result, that leads to a lot of kick out opportunities. And so they kind of pick their poison where, you know, they're going to make a team have to beat them with, you know, I guess lower percentage shots, longer shots, and hope that they have a cold night. And that's worked against Purdue a lot, you know, especially against Matt Painter's system with all the dominant bigs he's had. You know, Nebraska's kind of followed that plan to a T over the last few years, and especially in Lincoln, has had, you know, pretty good success. The issue, though, is, you know, yeah, you force, 33 missed threes, but if you can't finish the possession, it doesn't matter, you know, because they're going to get multiple opportunities, and Purdue is too good to give that many second chance shots over the course of a game. So, like, it was good that Nebraska was able to make Purdue one-dimensional, especially down the stretch, and force them to be so dependent on the three-point shot. But the only way that that's a good thing is if you're able to finish the job with, especially those longer defensive rebounds. So that's the challenge where, you know, again, you got to follow that same defensive game plan to, you know, bait Purdue into kind of falling into that three-point trap. But then also you got to hope that they have a cold night, and then also make sure that you finish the job on the glass to not give them multiple shots per possession.
Robin, how many times this week have you been asked about the Braden Frager apart from the bench sitting down photo that has emerged?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, as you would expect, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird because I didn't even notice it, like, during the game. I didn't see anything until after those photos came out. And then, of course, it immediately turned into, is this AI or not? And I'm like, I don't know. There's multiple angles. And then so I had to, like, talk to guys that I know that, like, sit courtside that were right there. And they said, yeah, we saw it. We were commenting on it in the game. So, like, it's a real thing. It happened. And, you know, it's unfortunate because, you know, Braden's, like, it's nothing like big that's happened with him, but it's like these little things that become these unnecessary side stories that I think are just a byproduct of him being a highly emotional player who wears his feelings on his sleeves for good or bad. You know, got him in trouble when he was celebrating too much against Jeremy Frears.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's gotten the best of him when he was, you know, real down on himself for not playing up to his standard against Iowa. So, like, he's got to find a way as he kind of matures and looks ahead to next season to control those emotions. And you can feel however you want to feel. Like, you don't want to, like, bottle up your emotions as a competitor, but you also got to realize that 15,000 people are watching you with cell phones every single night. And so, like, you know, you can't be so demonstrative with however you're feeling one way or the other. So I think that's kind of another lesson learned for him. And, you know, you got to just understand that that's kind of who he is, who he's always been. And he's still a young player, kind of growing on the fly right now. And so, like, I know people wanted to jump to these conclusions about him. You know, this is another sign that he's leaving, but every indication I've gotten, and especially hearing Braden and Fred Hoiberg talk over the last few days, I think that they're pretty much at the finish line of bringing him back right now. And I don't put much stock into the transfer rumors or anything like that. I think you just got to understand that this is nothing new with Braden. You know, he had that MO in high school. He's just an emotional kid that, again, you hope as he grows and, you know, matures and, you know, continues to adjust to the spotlight of this magnitude being on him every single game. He learns from an experience like that. But, you know, I'm not worried about his future, or if that was any reflection on his, you know, feelings about his opportunity in Nebraska. I think Braden feels happy at Nebraska. I think the people around him feel happy with him at Nebraska. And it would be almost a surprise to me if he's not in a Husker uniform again in 26-27.
Now, Robin, you're staying out in Rosemont. If you want to be a good company man and save Sean all the expenses, the blue line is your best bet. That's the line that comes out where Rosemont is. If you hop the blue line and take it all the way down through downtown Chicago and back out the other side and get off at the Illinois Medical District stop, it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk to the United Center. if you wanted to be adventurous and take the train. Other than that, if it's Sean's expense and you don't care anyway, just take the car. Take a limousine. That's what you should do.
Wow.
Take a limousine. Show up in style. Maybe people will think you're Michael Jordan.
Yeah, I'm gonna get like a Lyft XL black.
Yes.
Escalade.
Do it.
Yes.
22-inch rim type thing, and I like this is this is what Sean owes me for the work that I put in this season.
That's right.
Ride in style. I'm not taking public transportation
Not
to cover
only
postseason play in the greatest season in Nebraska ball history.
Correct.
not only, Robin, does he owe you for this year, but all the other years that you suffered watching this program and covering it as you have. You should be riding in style the rest of the way, no matter how long it goes.
I had to fly commercial out here. Like if anything, the Husker Online private jet should have given me some miles to come out to Chicago. But Sean had to take that to his Florida vacation, so I guess maybe next time.
Hey, Robin,
All
real
right.
quick before you go, like next week, tournament's going to be here. Are you going to be like one of those guys at the gym on January 2nd, looking around at all these newfangled media members covering the team, shaking your head? Where were you in November when they were playing a bunch of nobodies?
Yeah, there's a lot of faces that have already popped up. I'm like, hey, where were you when they lost to Western Illinois not too long ago? Like, where were you during the Cam Mack days? Like, let's remember where this whole thing started. But no, it's fine. Like that's the thing. Like it's a good thing that there's this level of interest in Nebraska basketball, because it certainly has been a far cry from where it is right now for a long time. So,
all right, that's good, because I'll see you next week then. I just wanted to make sure you're not going to be like, what are you doing?
See, Josh is one of those Johnny-come-latelys.
Yeah,
Josh wasn't there for Incarnate Word. You were there for Incarnate Word.
I'll give you a judgmental look, but that's as far as it'll go.
Perfect. I look forward
I give him
to
a
it.
judgmental look every day.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Robin, thanks again. Appreciate it. Enjoy the stay in Chicago.
All right, sounds good, guys. See ya.
There he is, Robin Washut of HuskerOnline.com. We'll be back and have more. We get to enjoy that awkward moment every year where at some point the national anthem will occur during the Grum.
They did a practice one earlier. Everyone could hear it.
Oh, they did? I didn't even pay attention.
Yeah, they were doing it. It was like right after you first arrived. It was sometime like 4:30-ish maybe.
Is that before or after the vacuum?
We might miss it, because right now the countdown clock's at 22 minutes.
Okay.
We might get away with it. It might be right at the end of What's for Dinner, or we might just who knows?
What's for dinner? The national America.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
America's What's for Dinner.
Nice.
All right. We will continue. We got a little bit of content, I guess we can get to. There was one question we did not get to yesterday that I did want to discuss.
It's an important one.
Because the NFL is trying to be the NBA.
And by the way, speaking of the NFL, John, there is a
Sports Flash.
Yeah, I was going to say we could do it in context. All right, never mind.
Time for an unsportsmanlike conduct Sports Flash update.
Sports Flash.
From the Sports Flash Sports Desk.
The Minnesota Vikings have signed a quarterback.
What?
Yes.
Who is
the
it?
Vikings have signed a quarterback.
Is it Aaron Rodgers?
Nope.
Welcome back, Kirk Cousins.
Sports Flash.
It's not Dante Culpepper, and it's not Randall Cunningham.
Sports Flash.
But
Sports Flash.
It is
Sports Flash.
Kyler Murray.
Oh,
wow.
Scurrying around, crazy legs, Kyler.
Scurry Murray, that's what they call him.
Oh, they should call him that, actually.
This way, old Viking fans. I mean, you have to be really old. It's like having Fran Tarkenton back.
It's like having Fran, but a shorter version.
I've heard a lot of people compare him to Fran Tarkenton.
What do you know about Fran?
He was the Vikings' first quarterback?
Yes, he was.
Wow.
And he was a big guy, but more mobile than anybody expected.
Wow. Nick knows ball.
I've watched Secret Base.
Okay.
I mean, if you watch early Fran Tarkenton,
crazy legs.
It looks pretty close to Kyler Murray. Not exactly, but anyway, Kyler Murray, 1-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings.
And the Cardinals are paying for most of it, which is pretty funny.
That is funny. All right. Back after this on 1620 Zone.
I made you some
Unsportsmanlike.
content.
Unsportsmanlike content.
Unsportsmanlike content. Content that's unsportsmanlike.
Okay. Nick, what do we have today in content?
Miami of Ohio lost today to UMass of Massachusetts in the MAC tournament.
Oh, no.
The only undefeated team is undefeated no mo. How much should they be sweating on Selection Sunday?
I don't think much. I think there's been enough discussion around them and how their schedule was and how they tried to schedule better and couldn't and went undefeated the whole time. I get it. All the metrics look awful, but it would be a terrible look for the committee not to put Miami of Ohio in the field. And you know, the other thing too, and I know the committee is not supposed to look at this bubble is one of the worst bubbles in recent memory. I mean, some of the
It's
teams
horrible.
right now being considered are not great. So of all the years, this should be the year where a team like this gets in with no stress whatsoever. And I hope it gives old boy from Auburn heartburn when he sits there in the studio and has to talk about them, because I don't know if you saw this or not, but Bruce Pearl is going to be on the CBS selection show. This is exactly why the CBS people are going, oh, goody. This will make great ratings. Not that the show really needs a lot of ratings. It's going to have them anyway, but yeah, I don't think Miami of Ohio is going to be sweating that much. They'll be in comfortable.
Here's a prediction for Sunday. He is going to call Peyton Sanford on the selection show. I'm with you, though. I don't think that they have to worry. I think that they are going to get in. You mentioned it. The bubble is terrible this year. Absolutely awful. Miami of Ohio makes it to the dance.
Max, with 2 X's, by the way, Crosby has a message for the NFL. I'm a Raider. In a post on social media, he posted, everything happens for a reason / believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. I'm a Raider. I'm back. Run that S. Big deal? Also, why do some people write by capitalizing the first letter of every word? That seems difficult.
I've always wondered that, and it always seems to be athletes or former athletes that do this. It never makes any sense to me. It seems very hard.
Maybe they weren't paying attention in school.
I don't think he's going to be on the Raiders. I still think he's going to get traded. That relationship had soured. He's not back on there because they mended fences. He's back as a Raider today because the Ravens decided they didn't want him anymore because they wanted to get Trey Hendrickson. So, no, sorry, Max, I'm not going to believe you and your weird typing.
Yeah, you really need help here. I mean, the extra work that goes into capitalizing every word of a sentence is so many unnecessary keystrokes, especially I'm assuming he's using a phone. Max, work on your tweeting. No, I don't believe he is this much sold on being a Raider. Now, how much of this, too, is he's trying to put on a happy face? Because right now people are questioning whether or not he's actually healthy or will be healthy to be his usual self at the beginning of the season. Now, that said, I think he will be a Raider. I don't think the Raiders will be able to get enough for him that the disappointment of a possible return will be so great that they're just going to say, you know what, we're just going to swallow our pride and we're going to go with what we got. And listen, as long as he comes back and plays well, you still have one of the top pass rushers in the league. So enjoy it. But yeah, I think he's putting on a happy face.
Adam Schefter tweets, NFL now is exploring playing a game on Thanksgiving Eve as early as this season. This year, this would be Wednesday, November 25th. Seriously, is there any day on the calendar between Labor Day and St. Paddy's Day this league won't consider?
Apparently not. And listen, I get it. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, there is no football. I mean, but it leads into an orgy of football starting on Thanksgiving Day. This is ridiculous. And again, it amplifies the point that the NFL does not, has not, and will never not care about the health and well-being of its players.
Correct.
It's just about the money. They just want another game that they can sell to a streamer, that they can have an exclusive game on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Please stop trying to be the NBA. Stop trying to play every day of the year. The NBA has to play every day of the year because they have so many games. But this is football. Stop with the nonsense. Dumb idea. You don't have to play the day before Thanksgiving.
Plus, I mean, a couple things. Logistics-wise, the teams I don't even know how they would do this because you can't play on.
I saw was that the teams that had the bye the previous week.
Okay, so they
automatically in this.
Because I was going to say you can't play both of the teams on Thursday because you're not going to do a rematch on Wednesday. So yeah, you'd have to have a bye. It's not like they do Saturday games at that time of year. Okay, so I guess it would make sense from that logistics standpoint. I'll say this though, John. TV ratings, of course, would be big for that night because it's the NFL. That is one of those people get out of the house nights. It's one of the great drinking nights of the entire year in a country filled with many great drinking holidays. But this is one where people come home if they're at college or hanging out with their high school friends. It's one of the few nights every year that I almost can kind of like guarantee meeting up with friends or wanting to go out and about for a little bit because I know that I'm going to be with family the next few days and seemingly everybody is back in town. So like, again, it would do numbers, but I don't think it would do the type of numbers that the NFL is hoping it would because this is such a unofficial holiday for a lot of people to get out of the house.
We'll finish off on a happy note.
Oh,
the Big Ten sent a letter to the NCAA this week asking the organization to put a halt to investigations and infractions proceedings related to tampering, according to a copy of the letter obtained by ESPN. So what's going on now? Is the whole league gonna cheat just like Michigan did?
Wow, if you watch them and you see them win a title, everybody wants to do it. I look forward, John, to Nebraska cheating just like Michigan did and picking up a national championship at some point in time.
They all cheat.
What?
They all have cheated,
My
and they all will continue to cheat.
Mm.
The only reason that they're putting this letter out is saying, well, the modern college game, you have to with the transfer portal that you'll be competitively at a disadvantage if you don't tamper.
Sorry, dear, I had to cheat. Everybody else is doing it. I needed to get a leg up.
Well, sure. I mean, that's the excuse that's being run. But, first of all, great. They put out this letter. They're not going to enforce it anyway. They don't have the power to enforce it. So I don't know why they're even bothering doing this at this point, unless they want to get out in front of it and say, well, see, we thought this was a bad idea. We shouldn't have these tampering rules anymore because, it's too problematic. They're not going to enforce it anyway because it's been happening for years and it's just going to happen more.
Yeah, I yes, what John said. All right.
And that's content.
It is.
All right. 6 minutes to national anthem.
Oh, wow. This is going to be hilarious. We're going to come back from it. But the open is so long that we actually might be A-okay. By the way, here, I'll read this to you, John, to save a little time here from Doc, who writes on the text machine, John, the fact that you just called the Creighton game and now you're on the radio, you should be getting paid double time. Respect to you, my man.
Pardon me while I stand up and applaud.
Nick and I will take the double time pay too. Doc, thank you very much. We're working hard today.
Well, no, what we're going to do is I'm just taking the pay that they should have gotten for doing a whole show. We're taking half of it, and that's mine.
Interesting. What about so tomorrow you won't be doing the show, so do we get your pay
well,
for that
I'll turn
day?
it around, and I'll give back the half that I just took from you and give it back to you.
But tomorrow's a full show. Interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Sounds like only one of us can get paid. Looks like it's a fight to the death, Josh.
All right. I can't wait
Fight to the death it is. Oh, that ought to be good.
I'm going to stab you, Dick.
I'll get back to the studio, and you both will be laying down in a puddle of your own sweat with pillows next to you because it'd be a giant pillow fight.
Nice. Got him.
All right. What's for dinner? The world is my oyster tonight. I can go anywhere. I don't know where I'm going to go.
Awesome.
We'll find out next on 1620 The Zone.
best memory from playing basketball at Boston College?
Probably just like going out to eat.
Is the anthem done?
No, it's 20 seconds away from happening.
Uh-oh. Well, John, you go first then, just in case you got to leave.
I'm kind of. Last night we had some really good Italian close by the hotel. I don't know if there's. I'd like to find some Mexican tonight.
Ooh, get a little Marg action going.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling.
I purposely bought extra Popeyes so I would have leftovers. So I'm going to have leftover Popeyes tonight.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
We're going to go tickle chains again tonight, so maybe we'll pick something up on the way home.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the Grum.
That's the Grum.
Well, I'll be back on Monday.
You'll be back Monday. You will miss Frankenstein, John. Congratulations on not having to watch a 2.5-hour movie. Oh, now John's not going to talk. All right. See you later, John. That's John Bishop live from New York City.
Bye, John.
He's going to leave us. It'll be Stibbs tomorrow. So we'll have Stibbsy. Jack Mitchell's going to join us at 2:50 tomorrow because he is off tomorrow night because
basketball.
Nebraska basketball plays at 5:30 in this exact same spot right now. Purdue, by the way, up 21-11 about halfway through the first half. So, of course, if this holds, though 30 minutes and 28 seconds of action remains, Nebraska would face off against the Boilermakers tomorrow. So Jack will join us. We will recap Frankenstein with Kent Walgamont, and we'll hang out with Stibbs. We'll see how many sports topics we get to.
I'm going to set an early line at 2.5.
2.5. Will it be over or under? Find out tomorrow. So that's what we have coming up. Enjoy your Thursday night. Sorry, the show was short. It'll be back to a 4-hour show tomorrow. For John, who's gone, for Nick, I'm Josh. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.